of the last album leading into recording this one, you know, you played Wembley Stadium. You're like the sort of largest, the hottest ticket in terms of live ticket in the UK, I think, in terms of playing these kind of venues. And yet, you know, obviously, the records sales don't match. It's a weird scenario you find yourselves in. Do you know what I mean? Where you're almost like the biggest cult band in the world. I mean,
I think I see what you're saying. I don't think we really. I don't think we were able to really see many flaws in success of the albums, if you know what I mean, because the live side has always been so strong, but the albums, I think, have connected on the widely on the internet, not just through official sales things like that. I think we're one of those bands that's come through that way. I think a lot of new bands have to come through that way. Where you have to accept, sales figures are just way down when it comes to records. But we've been very lucky on the live side. That's kept us going. So I think that I don't think we've approached any albums thinking we really need to change anything for those reasons. I think the changes we've made on the records have been for creative reasons, to keep ourselves fresh and interested in making new music, basically.
What amazed me was going back and listening to songs off Showbiz and realising how ambitious you were right at the very start. And I'd forgotten, because you've been obviously ramping it up on each album and each live show, but that ambition and that musicianship was really in place right at the very beginning. I mean, you must surprise yourselves to think, God, we were cocky weren't we? Put some of this on record, really.
A lot of people say, like over the top, or sort of, extreme, or indulge or whatever. Yeah. But to me, it never doesn't seem that way. It's, as I said, I mean, it's probably because I do listen. I don't obsessively listen to. I do listen to bits of classical music, opera music, that kind of stuff, and that stuff really is over the top. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, to me, like, we're nowhere near that in terms of drama. The kind of drama you get from when you see certain opera pieces or certain, especially 20th century classical music, film music. It's really epic stuff. Really massive.
You're flying pretty close to the sun, though, with the opera, with the symphony at the end, which I think is amazing, and I think you've absolutely done it, and you made it work within the context of the record, which is a huge challenge for anybody to apply themselves to that and actually make it work in and amongst the riffs and the pop songs and everything else. You obviously really put a lot of heart and soul into that piece of music. And I mean, you could probably tell us before I even talked to him about it, did it nearly drive him mad? I mean, were there moments when you find him like literally over the keyboard at 4 in the morning?
I mean, we were lucky because we had like 2 studio setups. While you were kind of freaking out or writing the string arrangements, we could be in the other room working on something else. So that certainly helped. But yeah, I think there was a lot of, you certainly felt a lot of stress around that point, getting it all done. But I mean, it really was quite an accomplishment, really.
Definitely. I mean, how do you know when something like that is complete? It's different to working with a pop song or knowing that, okay, well, let's put one more chorus in there. To be fair, most of these songs, not yours, just in general through the history of music, there is a math to it. And okay, well, even if you muck around with the time signature a little bit here and there or the key change, one more chorus will do it, wrap it up nicely, and we move on. Do you know what I mean? To a certain extent. When you're working in a symphony environment or you're doing 3 parts, how do you? It's like doing a painting, isn't it? How do you know?
I think you just use you just use your the emotions totally. You let your feelings, whatever that is. I'm not sure the word to describe that is, but let that dictate the chordal movements and just where you're going with the piece. And sometimes you'll find yourself just going off into a place which has got no structural meaning at all, but has a strong emotional meaning because it leads on. Because it's a question and answer thing, or like some kind of vague internal narrative that you're trying to present. And so I think so long as you let that lead the way, then you can trust the end result. Even if it is quite weird, I think you can trust that it's come from a truthful location. Yeah.
Do you try to apply those theories to writing all your music? I mean, do you really try and let the music lead?
Well, no, a lot of the time. Some tracks you let a big riff lead. You know what I mean, or like something that is going to like make you jump up and down, and therefore hopefully the crowd as well. So it depends. Songs like Unnatural Selection were clearly written around the idea of sort of a live environment, something that we would want to play on stage on a regular basis, and we knew was going to really go down well. Whereas the symphonic stuff was not really, it was not written with live in mind at all. It was written really just from some sort of internal sort of place. Yeah.
Desire to do it. You're going to try it? You're going to have a go at doing it live at some point?
I don't know. I'm just thinking. I haven't got the guts to do the piano live because I know I'm going to up. That's the thing. It'll be so embarrassing. In the early days, it was a bit more like crazy girls, doing crazy things,
Your audience, and I've become in contact with this more and more in the last couple of months as the build-up for this record, and believe me, boys, it was an elongated and fantastic build-up, perfectly handled, but it was just whipping your fans into a frenzy, and they are a passionate bunch, and you must be aware of this, apart from just standing on stage when you come into contact with them for whatever reason. Has it always kind of been that way, ever since you've been making music, where your fans seem to cling on to you a little more than perhaps other bands.
Obviously we're very, very close with a lot with the fans in general, musically and emotionally for that reason. And we've always felt very strong because of that. From the very beginning, we've always had a very strong fan base, which has made us feel like, in some ways, a little bit apart from the media game. You know, that a lot of
I think they do too. I think they feel like being a fan of yours sets them apart from the playground or.
And in some ways, the fans, I think they know us. They know me certainly in ways that other people don't. You know, certainly there's very, very personal things on the albums, and I think that when you meet people that really love it, it really touches them. You can't help but feel very close to those people because there's something you have something in common with them.
But you know, you must come across some hilarious things online that people write as well, and you know, the investigation into your life and because people really find your lyrics absolutely fascinating. I think and the music and what you put into it. So it becomes not about the songs as much sometimes as what I've read. It becomes about the motivation of the person itself, like you guys, like.
There's some very passionate people out there that can
game face, Dom, game face.
Get into the realms of what you might call stalkerish.
No. It was actually worse in the early days. I think it's much more. There seems to be much more. A lot of fans really friendly these days, very, very chatty and friendly. In the early days, it was a bit more like crazy girls, doing crazy things, which was nothing wrong with that, but no, there's crazy mothers now, crazy women.
It's your tipping point, gentlemen.
It's maturing.
The crowd's maturing.
The audience is getting older.
They're maturing with you. Nothing wrong with that. No, I think that all different types of people are fans of Muse, and
it's always been a very mixed audience as well. So that's always nice. You see all age groups and all types of people in our concerts.
It's been nice. It's definitely felt like the music's certainly touched some people in a very deep way, and it's never really been like the music's never been like taken on from a mediocre position. I mean, people have either hated it or loved it deeply.